Moving on, there's a game that's on PlayStation Plus, which is Tchia, which I played a bunch of hours of, and it's a really sweet game. It is I think a love letter to New Caledonia, which is a small island country in the South Pacific, kind of a little bit east of Australia, and it's cool because all of it's made from local devs, and it's all local talent. It has the local language audio track and also some French. From a glance, this is very much like a Breath of the Wild like. And it has definitely some Zelda DNA. You do a lot of sort of sailing around, which is kind of Wind Waker-esque. You have a ukulele that you can use to sort of change the time of day. The cool thing though is you can do this thing called soul jumping, where you basically it's like in GTA, but instead of cars, you're inside a bird. You can
do that with the peyote.
Yeah, it's Mario. Yeah, that would be the better comparison. Yeah, I mean you basically possess objects around you. And it's really endearing, where you can just and it's like anything. It's kind of like Prop Hunt, where you can just be like, I'm going to be a rock, and you turn into a rock, and you can just roll around or launch the rock in any direction. And I really appreciate how tactile the game is. Like, it's very much, you can interact with pretty much everything around you. There's like the climb everything mechanic from Breath of the Wild, which is neat. The whole island is just gorgeous. It's really fun to traverse it for the most part. But I feel like it is a little bit too big for how much stuff there is there. Mm-hmm. And it also does some interesting things in terms of like immersion, where it very much encourages you to sort of explore in the literal, in-game sense, in the immersive sense, as opposed to like just getting from point A to point B with like waypoints and stuff like that. And you have a whole map. There's a whole map system. But the way that does navigation is you don't have a mini map, or you sort of have a mini map, but it doesn't show where you are. And if you want to find out where you are on a map, you have to find like a sort of, what do we call it? Like a signpost?
Like a landmark.
They do
contouring.
So they do the landmark thing like in Assassin's Creed. You basically go up on like a cliff and just yell, and then it shows you where there's like little points of interest around you, but it still doesn't show you exactly where you are. Whereas if you come by a signpost, you basically pin your location, and so when you pull up the map, it has Chia's last known location on the map there. So it forces you to actually pay attention to your surroundings, which I love. Like a while ago, I talked about how if you turn off the map and the HUD in The Witcher, it makes it way more interesting to like explore, and you actually have to pay attention to what's going on around you. And that's like it's like actually using a map in real life.
Right.
Like if you have a compass and you have a map and you're like, oh, there's a river here, there's a statue here. I see a statue, I see a river, I should go this way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's handy. There is fast travel, but you have to like basically get around to and unlock a bunch of docks to make it happen. I would say if you're in a hurry to get to the next thing, this game is sort of a pain in the ass. But it's incredibly chill if you're just down to kind of poke around and like.
It looks really nice. It's maybe a weird way to describe it. It looks like a really wholesome Just Cause from what I've seen.
That's just that is spot on. That is very, very true.
I've been looking at this game for a while because I do think it just looks nice and relaxing. Sometimes after a long day you just want something chill to do. Like unlike I'll mention it again. Diablo, not that. This is like the antithesis of Diablo. I think I'm going to check it out, especially if, like you said, it's free on PlayStation Plus this month, isn't it? So
yeah, I really adore the traverse. Like it has a feeling to it where it's like this is an indie game. This is clearly made by a small team. It is one of the most ambitious indie games of recent memory. Like in terms of just how much stuff they put in this game, it's really, really impressive. And it still has like it's a little rough around the edges, but you're willing to forgive it. I was completely not interested in the story whatsoever. It's interesting because like for a game that clearly encourages immersion in the actual gameplay when you're actually exploring and wandering around the world, it does a lot to draw you in. And then it's extremely jarring where all of the cutscenes feel like completely happening separate from the gameplay itself.
Yeah.
I just saw it had a crane machine mini game, and I'm a sucker for any game that has a crane machine like mini game. I don't know, claw machine, whatever you guys call it here.
I haven't even gotten to that yet. It is forgiving in terms of wanting if you're not feeling the gameplay or if you're not feeling the story, you have sort of the option to like you can skip cutscenes or you can I think skip gameplay segments. They do an interesting thing where there's a lot of music, which is lovely. It wasn't particularly to my taste, but it's like very sweet. Again, very, very chill game if you're after that sort of like, tropical getaway kind of vibe.
It's nice. It's nice to have like that sort of a game like that, just like a nice relaxing game.
Yeah.
Because normally you'd see that sort of genre and you'd think, where's the Predator?
Yeah.
Where is he? Where's he lurking?
That's a
I mean,
fair
maybe
point.
he does turn up later. We don't know that. But
He could be anywhere. It does seem like a place the Predator would go, but then he'd be like, "There's not enough muscle men here. I'm gonna go hunt muscle men elsewhere."
This is too easy. I don't want to kill
We'll
these.
come back to the Predator. We should really we always go too deep on the Predator.
The conversation always finds its way back to the Predator, which is a good thing, I think.
Yeah.
Max, I did have one last question for you, though, about the game. So you said you weren't too interested in the story. Is it just like it's not that compelling, or what is it about?
It's
the story of
I think it's rooted very much in New Caledonian folklore, and it does the thing where it opens and it's got I think kind of a story within a story vibe where there's like a lady sort of retelling a legend, and it just wasn't grabbing me. Like I've been very impatient with games talking to me lately, which is a weird gripe to have, but like I think it's fully recognizing that thing where like there can be a story told through gameplay and there can be a story told in a sort of linear fashion baked within the gameplay. Like I've been playing Dead Space in little spurts here and there, and I wish these people would stop Skyping me. Like I'm just trying to go shoot some stuff in the head, and these people are like calling me up and being like, "Hey, how's it going? What's up, Isaac?"
That noise is one of the scariest in the game when they call in as well. It's like,
Yeah.
Can we have a nice little ringtone instead of a...
But it's like having a pop-up, you're like, oh, just get out of the way. And it's like, I don't care if they're like, why does it have to be like, you don't take a FaceTime call while you're driving. That's deeply unsafe. If you're in like a thing full of necromorphs, get the hell out of here. But yeah, the game has, it's got its own set of lore. I was sort of impatient and I just wanted to get into the game itself. And it's very sweet. It's like, I kind of just love the simplicity of just being a little kid exploring this island and running around. And it's extremely like kid friendly. It's very like non-violent, which I appreciate a lot. There are these sort of like fabric demons that live on the island, and it's amazing to play a game like this.
Those are called bed bugs, by the way, Max. Fabric demons.
You get that diatomaceous earth, and they can get the hell out of there. I hate those things. Anyway, no, there's little like floating fabric ghosts or whatever, and you find their little outposts, and then they're like, oh, you got to kill them all and then burn their pile of fabric to make them go away forever, which is rooted in like, local folklore. I was like, this is going to be interesting. I don't even know how to do combat. Like I possessed an axe earlier and just jumped around. Like I didn't really know how do you fight. And I think there is combat later on, but I basically haven't encountered it aside from that. What I did was I just possessed a gas can and then jumped into a campfire, and then it exploded and they all died, and then it like the little rag pile caught fire, and then it was like, you got a treasure chest, congratulations, these guys are all taken care of. And I was like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, for like suicide bombing.
It's a little dark, but I don't. It reminds me so much of and this sounds like such a like the Boss Baby take, the guy who's only seen Boss Baby, like big Boss Baby vibes from this movie. It reminds me of GTA, specifically when you could take peyote and turn into animals, which was one of my favorite things in the sort of the last gen port of that game. And I wish that it was more repeatable. Like I think it's so funny that they were like, yeah, you just eat like a little piece of a cactus and you get to be a deer for 10 minutes. Except it wasn't. You couldn't just do it a bunch, which seemed like a huge oversight. And in this game, that's the whole.
You'd love Goat Simulator.
Yeah, it's fun. It's got. I wish there's more besides goats and giraffes and sheep.
What's wrong with goats?
You don't even get me started. They climb things, they eat tin cans, they scream, they faint, they do all kinds of stuff.
To be fair.
But I like that there's all the animals for the most part have different like powers basically, and sometimes you're just like, I'm tired of Tchia walking too slowly, I'm gonna be a deer, and the deer can just sprint and bound across.
Just be a bird the whole time, I think, and fly around.
I know because you have like a time limit, which is annoying, and it's actually sort of funny when your time as a bird runs out and you just turn into a kid and you're like in the middle of the sky.
We've all been there.
And you've got like limited stamina, so you're basically like, well, I guess I'm free falling until I get closer to these trees, and then you pop your little parachute, and then hopefully, I guess you can sort of die, like if you just fully ragdoll midair and just hit the ground. It's like, oh, load screen.
It's a good job Predator's not in the game. Be bloodbath if I was playing.
Kill you. That would do a lot of murder. One thing they had that's really fun. It feels like it's very toyetic. Like it's very much like a fun that's a game that's fun to like physically play. Like if you just want to treat it like a little playground, it's great. You can climb to the top of a tree and wiggle back and forth and basically use it as a catapult to launch yourself, which again, to your point, is like a family-friendly Just Cause.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of experimentation and like
I'm into
being creative with the physics.
I'm gonna play.
Yeah. No, it's super neat. I'm it seems like it's getting a pretty decent reception for the most part, like 7s and 8s, and I think that's pretty fair. It's such a, like, you can tell that so much love was put into this game. Like it's very clearly was made by people who love they love their homeland, they love their culture, but they also love video games, and it's It's shockingly ambitious, and it's really neat
put a lot into this.
Yeah, it's also there's like musical bits where you play along.
Yeah.
And it's like a little mini game, but it's not really scored. It's just kind of like have fun, play with it. And you can also just skip it or just have it autoplay for you. It feels like it's very respectful of how you want to play the game.
Yeah.
Which is very nice. And it's funny because like the one really negative review that's on Metacritic is it's just like the bitterest man.
It seems a weird game to get angry about.
Yeah, the guy opens by being like, anyway, so it reminds me of Breath of the Wild, which I wasn't personally a fan. And I was like, okay, all right, we're playing by prison rules here. You're just
Save that. Well, that was good.
If you enjoyed that, check out full episodes of Beyond, IGN's PlayStation shows. We goof around about everything PlayStation related, sometimes covering it seriously. New episodes drop every Tuesday on IGN.com or YouTube.com/IGN Games.